Okay, so we'll begin. We're holding in the middle of the series the 70 most difficult questions in Judaism. And tonight's topic is dreams. The reason why dreams will be covered tonight is because we have spoken already about the neshama, the soul, the various parts of the soul, nefesh, ruach, and shama. We explained how the real human being is not his physical body, but the soul, the spirit, the part that remains even after one departs from this world. The guf, the body, rots in the ground. It acts like a suit, like a vehicle for us to act in this physical world. But that which is spiritual about us, that is different from the animal kingdom, or as we call it the neshama, that remains. That returns to the Creator. And B'ezrat Hashem, of course, the bodies too will have the Hayat HaMetim, which is another lecture. They will come back too. They will rise when Mashiach will arrive. In the meantime, we have to deal with the combination of the two. The combination of the neshama inside the guf, inside the body. A neshama that we're not always fully aware she exists, even though she's the captain of the ship. She's the one that makes the decisions. We have continuous challenges and temptations that for the most part come from the physical body, whether it's desires or jealousy and so forth. And we have the neshama whose job is to control those desires, to make the right decisions. And life has many battles, but the most difficult battle of all is to overcome our yetzer, to overcome our evil inclination, to do the right thing, to do as we're expected to do. Unfortunately, not everybody knows what it is that they need to do because they don't follow any roadmap. They don't have a guide. The Jewish people have the Torah. And the Torah is intended to facilitate the Jew to arrive at the destination that he needs to arrive. In other words, in order for him to achieve what is expected of him, in order for him to accomplish his mission, he needs to be guided by some plan, by some guide. And if he does not follow the Torah, the chances are that he will make many mistakes. Even though one is not aware of the neshama, there are ways that one can sense that there's something other than the physical body. One way to know that there's something else is through a dream. A dream is a very powerful way where one can see for himself that there's something else other than this physical body. Because some of the limitations that the physical body has disappear when one dreams. When one dreams, he can see himself in vivid color in a totally different country than where he is physically at right now at a given moment. A dream is very powerful. The problem is that not all dreams are real. And tonight, B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to cover the differences between a real dream and a false dream, the various levels of dreams and what they mean. I want to give you first an introduction to tonight's topic. The rabbis tell us that sleep, Hashena, is 1/60th of death. If you want to taste death, just a little bit of a taste, when you go to sleep, you taste it. Some taste it more, some taste it less. It depends how much of a deep sleep you have had. In any event, sleep is a similar experience to death. Why is that? Because first of all, the physical body is at rest, and something called the neshama has actually left the body. But that may sound confusing to you. If the neshama leaves the body, then how does one continue to be alive? That is because only a part of that neshama has left him. The part that is closest to the physical body is called the nefesh. The nefesh is what keeps the pumping, what keeps the heart pumping blood. The lungs are able to continue to provide air, and one can breathe even though one is asleep. So when we talk about the neshama leaving the body during the time that one is asleep, we're talking about a part of the neshama that is able to travel without without making the individual completely cease to exist. During the time that we are asleep, the neshama actually is somewhat liberated. Even though we've said before that the neshama is somewhat limited because she's in like a cage or a prison while she's in the physical body, she'd love to do certain things because she is divine. Her nature is different than the physical body, but she can't because the physical body is physical. The interests of the body are different than the interests of the neshama, so the neshama is somewhat caged and limited. That is only true while she's awake, while the body is awake. Once the physical body is asleep, however, the neshama is more liberated and has a chance to fully express itself. And the same is true with Shabbat. If Shabbat is experienced properly, Shabbat is 1/60th of Olam Haba, of the world to come. If one actually observes Shabbat properly, he is able to experience, and you can try it out if you haven't ever, you can actually experience an incredible experience that is different from an ordinary day. Shabbat is me'en Olam Haba, the rabbis tell us. It's a little bit of Olam Haba. But in order to properly experience it, you have to properly observe it. Then you actually feel it. So in the same way that sleep is 1/60th of death, Shabbat is 1/60th of Olam Haba. And a dream is 1/60th of true prophecy. We will be talking about prophecy separately, what prophecy is. Halom is a very, very small kind of prophecy, if it's a true halom, if it's a true dream. Nevertheless, in order for a little bit of prophecy to come about, it can only happen when the physical body is at rest, when the neshama is no longer imprisoned and limited, when it could actually begin to see things that it could not while it's fully awake. Most prophets, by the way, had prophecy while they were asleep, or visions. Only Moshe Rabbeinu was the only one that can speak to Hashem, can speak to God, pe el pe, like we speak to our friends. Otherwise, for the most part, everything came b'halom, in a dream. That is when the physical body is at rest. That is when the neshama can finally express itself or see things that it could not see while it is in the physical body. So this halom, this dream that we're going to be talking about, is 1/60th of prophecy, which means, without getting into prophecy, it means that it is a way that God can communicate with us. While we're awake, we don't hear Him, we don't see Him. We are limited to what we can see and actually what we can know. In our physical bodies, it is not possible for us to understand everything. It is not possible for us to see everything. Even animals see more things than human beings. Animals, for example, can see ghosts. They can see spirits. And that is why sometimes they bark and you don't know why they're barking. They sense an earthquake coming. They can detect a lot of things that the human being cannot. We have a neshama, and that neshama, as long as it is closed within a physical body, it cannot see or know everything. Once it leaves the body, it knows a lot. Or, there's one more case. Right before the individual dies, right before he leaves this world, whether he's in a coma, or even if he's semi-awake, he may actually tell you, I see my relatives who have left this world coming to accompany me to the world to come. Or he sees the angel of death. They will tell you things that they would never have said while they were fully healthy and awake. Now, you may think they're crazy, but they're not. Because many of them see this, and you may have heard it yourself if you were standing or sitting next to somebody who was just about to leave this world. At that time, they are given permission, as the Zohar says. They are given reshut to see things that they would never have seen before while they were healthy and alive. Right before they die, they're able to see things. Everybody, of course, according to their level. Now, even though a dream is a way to see certain things, it is a vehicle of communication between us and Hashem, there are other ways to see or to know certain things. Rabbis tell us that there is a term called mazale hazir. His mazal saw it. He didn't see it with his physical eyes, but his mazal felt it. Somehow, his neshama, through the mazal, was able to sense something was wrong, something was about to happen. People call this psychic powers. There's all kinds of powers out there. There's all kinds of sensations. There's all kinds of antennas, I guess we can call them, that are able to absorb or receive all kinds of information. Some of them are kosher, and some of them are not. And the reason why some of them are not is because some of them are receiving that information from kohot tumah, from the impure forces, which is another topic that we spoke about, that there exists impure forces in this world, and it's through these impurities that many terrible things happen in the world, and certain things can also be known through them. And obviously, because they are impure, they are forbidden. Nevertheless, some of them are 100% kosher, like telepathy. Some people have telepathic communication between each other, very, very close friends. Certain people from certain mazalot, that is perfectly fine. There are all kinds of ways, there are all sorts of means that one can receive information, but it's important to know where it's coming from. Is it true? Is it false? Is it kosher or not? Is it from clean sources or is it from impure sources? Now, even though we said that the physical body at night is at rest, there are certain parts of the body that still continue to function at a certain level. The heart continues, as we said before, to pump blood. The kidneys, the organs are still working. So even though we said the physical body is at rest, it doesn't mean completely at rest. It's just it's not physically active as it is while it's fully awake. Nevertheless, because most of it is because most of it is asleep or at rest, the neshama is able to leave. The neshama is able to fully experience what it could not while it was fully awake. Now, during this time that the body is asleep, the brain, which acts like a hard drive, for those of you who know a little bit of computer jargon, this brain is a storage place. It stores information, it stores memory, and it also has the ability to process information. All of this happens at night in a place called imagination. A lot of scientists have tried to figure out in secular terms what dreams are. And each one talks about imagination too, and talks about the brain and all that, but they don't really have a clear understanding of what dreams are and how they happen. Judaism sheds a lot more light. The Kabbalah speaks a little bit about it, a lot more than what they will ever know, because they have no clue as to what the neshama is. But they are right about one thing, about one detail. There is something called the world of imagination. The brain does store information. The brain does have memories of the past, very recent memories of what happened during the day, the thoughts. And at night, even though everything is at rest, the brain is still processing all this information. Somehow, there is something in the body that stimulates thoughts, experiences, and a little bit of a person's internal makeup, his personality. There's something that stimulates all or any one of those three to be launched into the world of imagination. There's something that triggers it. There's something that triggers, again, either the recent experiences that one may have had, or past experiences, thoughts, right? Or it could be something in his personality. Depression, for example. All sorts of things that happen to us, that something triggers them. One of those triggers, according to the Kabbalah, as it is brought down, is the foods we eat. The last meal you have right before you go to sleep. It's not a good idea to go to sleep right away after you just had a heavy meal, for example, for all sorts of reasons. But it could be that the certain foods that one has had act as a trigger, a kind of trigger that somehow stimulates a chemical reaction in the physical body, in the brain, to bring about a random projection. I'm sorry if I'm using some fancy words, but I hope you can follow me. It triggers a random projection of all sorts of thoughts, and it's all confusing because it's somewhat random, without any order, without any synastry, without any purpose whatsoever. And all of that is, of course, completely nonsense, right? Mumbo jumbo. You can't figure it out. And many of the dreams belong to that kind of a category. The rabbis, to make it easier for us, because they understood the human body, the way it functions, and they understood what dreams are, help us out to sort all of this, to sort out the true dreams from the false dreams, the dreams that are pure imagination, thoughts, and experiences, from those that can be prophetic in nature, from those that have some message for us. And therefore, they divide the night into 3 parts. The first part of the night, they call Ashmoret HaRishonah. Ashmoret HaRishonah, or the first part of the night, just about any dream that you will have is false, contains no message, no truth whatsoever. And the reason for that is because they remind us this is the beginning of the night. And what do you think may be happening in the beginning of the night? Your physical body is not completely at rest. You've just eaten dinner, you've just exercised, you were just up just recently. So a lot of the food and the thoughts are still in the system. They need to be sorted out, filtered out, just like food. At some point is filtered, the various parts of the food are sent in different places in the body, and some of it at the end is expelled from different parts of the body, right? So the body goes through a process of sorting all sorts of things, digesting all that information, all that experience. It's only at the end of the night, when the body is finally at rest, when the stomach is not anymore working to digest all the food. It works pretty hard. If you had a heavy meal, steak and potatoes and all this good food, it takes time. The body heats up, and this causes a sort of stimulation, or this triggers, or it can trigger, all kinds of ideas to enter that mind. Because in that mind there's something called the world of imagination. That world of imagination we use even during the day while we're awake. We imagine things. We imagine ourselves doing things, or at certain places, certain thoughts and ideas. That's called the world of imagination. And that imagination is very powerful, but in an uncontrollable way at night when we're asleep. Because of pressures, because of experiences, because of our personality, because of all sorts of things. And there's something that triggers them to just project themselves in that area called imagination at night. But all of this only, of course, happens during the first part of the night. Second part of the night, Ashmoret HaShniyah. The Ashmoret HaShniyah is a little bit more serious. Why? Because in the middle of the night, sometime, let's say between 12 and 2, 12 and 3, that is a time when there are dinim. There's a lot of judgments in the world. That is the time of the demons come out. That is the time they rule. I didn't give you the exact hours, but it's the middle of the night when they rule. That is a different kind of stage at night. That is when one has nightmares. What are nightmares? Nightmares are very powerful experiences that are further back in time in our life. People that went through the Holocaust, for example, have certain times nightmares, and they happen during the middle of the night. All of a sudden, they think they're still in Auschwitz. They think they're still being pursued by Gestapo, right? All of a sudden, they feel terrible, and they actually wake up sometimes and sweat and are afraid. These are the nightmares that invade our minds during the second part of the night. It does not have to do with our thoughts that we had during the day necessarily. It could still be. It could be that thoughts go over to the second part of the night too, right? But it usually has to do with long ago memories and experiences, and or it may have a little bit to do with a person's personality. If he's depressed, if he's very, very sad, or he's going through a very, very difficult time in his life. All these pressures, they add up all to produce a certain dream that is very, very strange. They are the strangest dreams, the second part of the night. Whereas the first part of the night, you can actually invite a dream because it's so connected to the day. As one king asked a Tana, can you tell me what am I going to dream tonight? Are you so smart? And the rabbi knew the secret of dreams, of course, and he says, yes, you're going to dream of a beautiful golden palace with all the vessels in kelim of gold, and started describing in utmost detail the jewels and every aspect of that palace. He described it in so much detail that the king actually had that dream that night, exactly as he was told. Because a dream in the beginning of the night is so close to the thoughts, to the experiences of that day or that week, that is what you immediately see. Whereas the second part of the night is already further back, perhaps, in the memory, or these are dreams that have to do with demons. And those are the most problematic dreams. In the event they are from demons, then of course one needs to know what to do that they should not repeat themselves in case he has those dreams. And I can share with you another time, if you want after the lecture, if you suspect you have those dreams, what you need to do. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue how to protect yourself from them, because they can be a problem. Because they can do all sorts of things to us in the middle of the night that we'd rather not want to experience. But that happens during the middle of the night. I'm going to get to that. That's a good question. What if you go to sleep late? I'll get to that soon. So what does the first part of the night and the second part of the night have in common? You don't have to relate to them. You don't have to be concerned about them. They have no truth whatsoever. And most of our dreams belong to either category 1 or category 2. In other words, I would say that 95 or 97% of our dreams are not real. And on that, the rabbis have told us, "Halomot shav yedaberun." Dreams communicate false things. They're not real. What did they mean? What did they have in mind? The majority of the dreams, which occur during the beginning and the middle of the night. Now comes the third part of the night. Third part of the night, we've talked about the physical body being at rest, but working hard during the first part of the night. At the very end of the night, right before a person wakes up, he's more at rest. Therefore, it's not the food that's triggering or stimulating anything. It's not so much the thoughts of the day anymore. It could be that there's some grain of truth to the ideas that are floating in his mind during that part of the night. In other words, if a true dream will be dreamt, it needs to come at the end of the night. Otherwise, you won't be able to figure it out at all in the beginning or the middle, because there's so much going on in the mind and the body, producing all this random projection of thoughts and experiences, that you won't be able to figure out the bad from the good, the true from the false. As it is, even at the end of the night, there's some degree of nonsense. As the rabbis describe it, kash and teven, straw and hay. And it is our job, or the job of the one who's interpreting the dream, to be able to filter out that which is nonsense from that which is true. And that's not easy. Sometimes we're able to figure it out. Sometimes the dream has more clarity. But many times we need somebody to interpret it for us. And that someone has to be gifted. It's a gift. To be able to filter out the nonsense, the kash, the straw, from the teven, from the hay. Because even at the end of the night, you're not going to have 100% clarity. Why not? Why not have 100% clarity? Because I said before, a halom is only 1/60th of prophecy. It's only 1/60th. The more a person is a tzaddik, the more he's righteous, the more clarity he will have. Why will he have more clarity? Because the neshama that we spoke about in the beginning of the night, that remember the part of the neshama that leaves him, where does it go? It travels up, 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 into a spiritual world. Not all the neshamot travel as far up. Some of them stop in the middle. And in that midst of traveling up, in the middle of the way, there are shadim. There is a lot of information being sent or supplied by demons, the demonic world. And sometimes that is where the neshama stops, and all it gets is information that is false. Now, some of the information could be true, but a lot of it is also false. So it's hard to know what is a false dream, what is a true dream, if the neshama was only able to travel so far and only got information from that part of the world. The higher the neshama goes, it is able to see the relatives that have already passed away. Some tzaddikim have merited being yeshiva shel mala, in the yeshiva upstairs, and learning with tzaddikim, experiencing the Shekhinah, everybody according to the level. And according to the Kabbalah, there's something incredible. There's something called a special ma'aseh, a deed that can, if it is done during the day, it is so powerful that that ma'aseh allows the neshama, at least for that night, to travel all the way up. There are certain ma'asim, if they were done during that day, the neshama will experience a tremendous boost, and it will be able to see not only true dreams, but dreams with complete clarity. And at another time, I will share with you, if you want, what those ma'asim are. If you're able to do them, they will grant you, in other words, permission to that neshama to be able to travel all the way up and see things with more clarity. But otherwise, on the average, most human beings, Jewish or non-Jewish, do not necessarily see too much clarity in the dream, even though they're seeing some true dreams, but it's not so clear. There's a lot of nonsense, even the true dreams, the ones appearing right before we wake up at the end of the night. And again, why at the end of the night? Because that is when the body is more at rest. That is when there's less of an interference from all the thoughts, memories, and experiences that usually surface in the beginning or in the middle of the night. Now we've come to your question, Zalman. So what happens if somebody goes to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning? As I'm sure some of you do, right? So which Ashmoret, which part of the night are we going to be talking about? Right? You divide the night from the normal hour. What's the normal hour? 10 to 6, 8 hours, approximately, give or take. The first Ashmoret is usually before Chatzot, before midnight. The second Ashmoret is usually after midnight. And the third one is right before you wake up. So if you go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, which Ashmoret are you in? It all depends. If you had a heavy meal before you went to sleep, even though that was 2 o'clock in the morning, it could be, remember, that you are triggering, remember, through that chemical reaction of the foods in you, you are triggering some kind of stimulation of the thoughts that are in your memory bank from today, from the past few days, and somehow you will have all sorts of crazy ideas going in your mind, and they are for sure going to be false, not necessarily real. Or let me give another example. If somebody makes the mistake of seeing a movie right before he goes to sleep, you should never see movies, especially the bad ones, right? Remember, our eyes are like cameras, and this is a hard drive that is never erasable. Some hard drives you can erase. This hard drive in the head is not so easily to erase. And things you may have seen when you were a child, you'll still remember them. And what a shame if you have bad memories, or mind has been allowed to photograph pornographic pictures, for example. If that's in your mind, that will stand in the way. It will bother you in many ways. So you want to have a clean mind. And if you've absorbed things right before you went to sleep that are not so clean, then you're affecting your dreams. You may be affecting your dreams even if you went to sleep late. It will all be artificial, of course, because you've produced it yourself. It will not be real. And you may not be giving yourself a chance to see a real dream. And even if you do see a real dream, which many times will nevertheless happen if they want you to see one, but it will be muddled. It will be confusing. I'm not saying that you should go to sleep early for that reason. It's always healthy to get a good amount of sleep, right? But if you do go to sleep late and you do wake up early and not later, then it may not be exactly a very clear dream because you went to sleep late. Even though we've said that the dreams that have some truth to them are usually going to be early morning, not necessarily in the middle of the day, but sometimes yes, there are certain dreams that the rabbis tell us are for the most part always true, regardless of when you see them. Again, you're most likely going to see them before you wake up or towards the end of the morning, but there are indications that they are true dreams. And the following are some examples of true dreams. A dream that you have at night that was interpreted to you in the night. They told you what the interpretation was. A dream that your friend had about you. Okay, as long as it is, of course, a dream that was towards the end of the night, as long as it's a dream that has nothing to do with an experience she had with you recently, and therefore a friend that you haven't been in touch for a whole year or two, if she has a dream about you, that would make more sense that it's a true dream versus one that you have experience with and you speak to her and you deal with her on a regular basis. That not necessarily, okay? You have to quantify it. It all depends what kind of a dream. And a dream that in the same night you dreamt it twice. Rabbis tell us if you have a dream that repeats itself, even if it's not in the same night, it's not only going to happen, but it's going to happen very, very soon. So a dream that repeats itself, even though it may come the second time in a different flavor, the scenes might be different, but the message or the idea are the same, that is also indicative that the dream is real. A real dream is usually more clear. In other words, it has more clarity, clearer than one that is not real, obviously. You can see certain things with more clarity. It's also not easily forgotten. And because there's more clarity, you may be able to figure out what it means yourself sometimes. But remember what I said before, clarity does not only depend on the time of the night, it depends also on one's level of the neshama. The higher the level of the individual, the more clarity he will have. Tzaddikim have a lot more clarity than the average person. Some people say, Rabbi, I never have dreams. It's not true. Just about everybody has dreams, but we forget most of our dreams. That rabbis therefore recommend that if you had a very good dream, something that you really wanted to be true, don't forget about it. Remember it. Because remembering a good dream somehow helps for the dream to come true. It somehow strengthens it. And you wonder why. What does it have to do with it? As you will soon see, there are various kinds of dreams. Not all dreams are messages. Not all dreams are futuristic events. Some dreams are up in the air. They may come true or they may not come true. They're pending. And that is why if we do certain things, they may affect them. They may affect even the outcome of the dream, how they are interpreted. Because some dreams are somehow up in the air. They can turn out to be more than one thing. There could be more than one interpretation to them. It's different categories of dreams. So let's talk a little bit about what dreams mean. Not every dream is a prophetic message. Something will happen. People think, oh, I've had a dream. It means that something is going to happen. Not necessarily. Many dreams contain a message, but they're not prophetic in that they're saying this or that will happen. The best example of such a dream is a dream that you have with a niftar, with an individual who had passed away. It could be a parent, an uncle, a relative, a friend, or somebody you never knew. Right? Your great-great-great-grandfather, that you don't even know what he looks like. Whatever. A dream with somebody who has left this world come into your dream. What is that all about? They don't just come to say hello, how are you doing? Right? They don't actually have permission to just come to our dreams when they want. For a niftar to come to us, they need special permission. If they come, it's usually one of several things. Either they recently passed away, and it could be during the Shiv'ah, during the Shloshim, the 30 days. It could be that they were very close to us while we were alive, and they're basically showing us, just with appearance, without saying words, they're telling us either that they're happy, at rest, or suffering in pain. It is a message for us to realize what they're going through. And many children have those kind of dreams with parents that have left this world if they were very close to them. The closer you were to someone, the better the chances that you will see them. Not necessarily right away. It may be at the end of the 12 months. It could be at the end of the year that one will see them. You don't necessarily have to see them, but sometimes you see them just because they want you to know what they're feeling or what they're going through. No major message. Sometimes a niftar has a specific request. He needs something of you. And that could happen anytime. My great uncle, one of my uncles, came in a dream to another uncle of mine with a very, very, very important request. He was not very religious, unfortunately. And he came to my uncle and he says, "Tell your sister," which is my mother, "to please use the gift that I gave her for her wedding." What gift is that? A silver platter on which we put our Shabbat candles. You know how Shabbat candles, sometimes you put them on the platter. You don't put them on the table directly. But many Ashkenazic families, they have them. It's called in Yiddish a tatz, a silver tatz. He says, I gave it to her. It's a beautiful silver platter. Why doesn't she use it? Why does she just put it away in the china closet? You know, when you don't use silver, sometimes you just put it away. I gave it to her for use. He says, and I very much need her to do that because I don't have too many merits in this world. Remember, he was not religious. So he feels terrible. He does not have enough merits. At least let her use it. If she uses this, I will get some credit for it because she's going to use it for a mitzvah, for Shabbat. So the question is, why didn't he go directly to my mother? Why did he have to go through her brother, my other uncle? It's possible that they don't give him permission to go directly to her. Either because he doesn't have enough merits to clearly give the message to the person, it has to go through someone else, and if that somebody else remembers to tell her, fine, if not, not, they make it harder for him. Or sometimes it happens that they don't go directly to the person because the person who will see them will be too afraid to see them in the dream, and therefore they go to the person who's not going to be so afraid. There are various explanations as to why they don't go directly to you. It's not necessarily because the person who does not see them does not have the merits. It could be for other reasons that we don't know. But that is an example of a dream with a departed person that comes specifically for a request. Somebody's pregnant in the family, and they have a dream with an uncle or an aunt while she's pregnant. What do you think that dream means? You're going to be having a girl or boy, depending if you see your aunt or your uncle. And they're wanting you to give the name, perhaps. Otherwise, why should they come to you? They never came before. It's not somebody you see on a regular basis. All of a sudden, you're pregnant, and you see that man or woman. Good chances is that you're probably going to have either a girl or a boy, and that they're asking that you give their name. Now, you don't have to give that name, but it may be a good idea. If they were a good person, if they were good people, you may want to give that name. You may want to give two names. But that is a dream, not necessarily of a message for the future, but of a specific request. As we said before, depending on the level of the neshama, obviously if one is on a higher level, his dream experiences will be a lot clearer. He will be able to see more, know more. They will be able to communicate with him much more information. It all depends on his level. The greater the tzaddik, the less sheker, or nonsense, he sees in his dream. Most of us, however, even in the prophetic dreams, the ones that contain messages, they will all be beremizah. Remizah means that they will be hints. We need them to be interpreted. Rabbis tell us, all the dreams are subject to interpretation. What does that mean? If somebody interprets it negatively, it will be negative? Yes. If somebody interprets it positively, it will be positive? Yes, it can be unless they are true messages, true prophetic dreams that are intended to mean something for that individual, then they cannot be subject to interpretation, obviously. But there are some dreams, as I said before, that are up in the air. They are subject to the interpretation. So therefore, if you have a dream that may be one of those that may be subject to interpretation because it's not so clear to you, it is recommended to say it to a good friend. Because if somebody is a good friend of yours, hopefully they will interpret it as a halom tov, as a good dream, as a positive dream. They will not think of the negative possibility that the dream may contain. You have one of those kind of dreams that you're not sure, and you're almost certain that it is a real dream, but it may be subject to, it can be subject to interpretation. You don't have to have it interpreted. But if you do have it interpreted, have it done through somebody who's a close friend of yours.
Whatever happens with the dream after it's interpreted, then it's going to happen accordingly. Positive, according to
negative. Those categories of dreams that can be subject to interpretation, yes. If that individual says, oh, this is what it means, the power of speech can sometimes influence the outcome of a dream. Just as we know, we've spoken about it when we described the power of an evil eye, when somebody observes something, how he can affect it. We spoke a little bit about the power of a curse or a blessing. I briefly spoke about that. Words can affect the outcome of something because of the way God's system in this world is a system of din and rachamim, and there's various forces at work, certain angels that are empowered to do certain things, that when they pick up a word, they can actually use it against you. So that's what you have to be very careful not to curse yourself, not to say something, oh, I'm going to do this, or I'm going, if it's something bad. When you're upset, you have to be careful what you say because words are powerful. They can hurt you and others. So the same thing with a dream. A dream can be very, very delicate, certain dreams. And if they are interpreted the wrong way, they may be actually affecting the outcome of that dream. So always tell it over to a good friend, just in case. Unless, of course, it's the real dreams that are intended to be a message for you. They cannot be changed no matter what or how you interpret them.
If they're not interpreted at all, then nothing will happen.
Right. Some of them, nothing will happen if you don't say anything. Exactly. Yeah. Rabbis tell us that all things that are intended to happen on us, we see them in a dream. Anything that will eventually happen, major event in our life, we just forget about it. If, however, one sees a bad dream, and it's a real bad dream, it is a good idea for him to fast or to give tzedakah, because the reason why they're showing him a very bad dream is to awaken him, leorer oto. The problem is that not all bad dreams are really bad. Not all good dreams are really good. The rabbis tell us to a tzaddik, to a righteous man, they sometimes show a bad dream, because the whole idea of that bad dream is not a prophetic message, it's not a futuristic event, it's just to awaken him that he's doing something wrong. To a bad person, they sometimes show a good dream, so you should think that everything is okay with it, with what he's doing, and in the end he will be punished for it. You let him think that way. So they don't necessarily show a bad dream to a bad person. They can be showing a bad dream to a good person, but not every bad dream is really bad. I'll give you an example. Let's say a person sees in his dream that the house is burning down. The house burning down, first of all, just about any dream, it is not exactly what you see that's going to happen. A house, according to the book of interpretations, a house burning down means that there's going to be a machloket. There's going to be some major argument or scandal. It does not mean literally that the house will burn down. But the fire is like arguments. You see what I mean? So that is an example of a dream that it is not literal, but it's still negative connotation. It's still not good. It's still not positive. Right? Or if somebody sees, give you an example of a bad dream that is actually good. Somebody sees himself dying in a dream. A lot of people have said, I've seen my funeral, I've seen, they put him in my coffin. Anybody who sees himself dying in a dream, it's a good dream. That means they gave him arichut yamim, they lengthened his life. He has done something good that Hashem says, you've come closer to me now. What is death? Getting closer to Hashem. So you see, it looks bad, but it's really good. So there's all kinds of dreams. Even though they may appear bad, they're not necessarily bad. Even though they may appear good, they're not always good. The rabbis in the Gemara give us a list of dreams of different animals that you see what they mean. If you see a snake, if you see a snake coming at you, if you see yourself killing a snake, all sorts of things. Riding a horse, what color was the horse? There's all kinds of halamot that are brought down in the Gemara Masechet Berachot. Not all the dreams are in the Gemara. Obviously, there's so many dreams that are possible. Nevertheless, they give us some ideas as to what they could mean. Nevertheless, obviously, if somebody sees a very bad dream, he has to be concerned, because that is why they're showing it to him. It's very possible a message. If it's a really bad one, he has to be concerned that maybe they're giving him a message that something is wrong. And why are they letting him know? Because he is capable of canceling the decree. If it's a decree against him, he may have the ability to cancel the decree by giving charity, by repenting, by changing his ways. He will be able to avoid the problems. I want to share with you a couple dreams. There's a famous dream that occurred to somebody in Poland, in Krakow. His name was Rabbi Kin. Rabbi Kin had a dream that there's a treasure underneath the bridge in Prague. He's in Krakow, Poland, and he's told that there's a treasure underneath the bridge in the city of Prague. Now that's pretty far away. That's weeks of travel time. This is a family that could use the extra money, so he decided to listen to his dream. And he traveled all the way to Prague. The problem is, as soon as he approached the bridge, he saw a guard. So he waited for a good opportunity to approach the bridge where they will not detect him, because he has to dig under the bridge. The guard does not move. So one night he decided to sneak around the guard, and he was caught. He was caught by the guard. What are you doing here in the middle of the night? You want to blow up the bridge? You know, who knows? Maybe a spy. He says, no, I'll confess to you. I'll tell you the truth. You know, not a spy. Didn't come to do any harm to the bridge. But I had this strange dream that there is a treasure underneath the bridge. And I traveled all the way from Krakow to here to dig. You know, you never know. He says, you're a fool. You're crazy. I had a dream last night that there's a treasure behind the oven of this Rabbi Yitzchak in the city of Krakow. And you think because of some silly dream I'm going to travel all the way to Krakow to dig behind his oven? Go home. What do you have to do here? You're silly that you're listening to dreams. Oh, said, thank you very, very much for giving me the news. He ran back home. He dug behind his oven and he found a treasure. Now, with this treasure, he built a beautiful Bet Knesset, a beautiful synagogue that is still standing till today with all that money. He promised to do good thing with it. He was not stingy. He shared his money with the poor. He did good things. He was known as a very generous man. Did a lot of good, and he built a beautiful shul with that. Why is the dream so interesting? Why did he have to travel so far to find out that the treasure is in his own backyard, in his own house? You know, sometimes we go so far, we try so hard, and the treasure is around the corner. And this is also true with zivugim and shidduchim. Sometimes people travel all over the world, and she's right around the corner from you. She may be even sitting next to you. She may be even a few rows from you. Don't look around. But it's true. You never know. That's one of the messages of this story, that you never know. You may have a treasure in your own home, that you haven't dug it up. So why he had to go all the way there, only Hashem knows why he had to go through this. I don't have an explanation for it. Why do we need to really have dreams? The true dreams. Rabbis tell us that today, after the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, we don't have a bat kol, a heavenly voice. We don't have prophets. So dreams is, as I said in the very, very beginning of the lecture, is one of the only ways that Kadosh Baruch Hu communicates with us. There are some other ways, and which I'll talk about another time, but the dream is one of those. The dream can be such an important vehicle through which to know what Hashem wants of us, that there is even something called She'elat Halom. I don't think I've ever spoken about this, because it's not something that most people know what it's about. And even if I would explain it, I would not get into too much detail about it, because it's more Kabbalistic or more mystical in nature. She'elat Halom means that you can actually prepare yourself and do something in a certain way where you can ask a question from Shamayim, and they will reveal to you the answer in a dream. And that answer in a dream can happen in various ways. It can either come as when you wake up in the morning, a certain pasuk will be on the tip of your tongue. You will wake up with a certain pasuk, a certain verse from Tanakh, and that verse will contain a clear answer or an answer that is beremez. You have to figure it out. It's hinted to you. Or if you put a piece of paper underneath your pillow and you know exactly what you're doing, the letters would actually be written on a piece of paper, and you get an answer. Again, it could be clear or non-clear. And the third way the answer can be gotten is through an actual experience in the dream, where you actually see something happening, which basically gives you the answer to your question. Anyway, as I said, most people do not really know how to do this, and it's not something that should be done, but it is done occasionally when something is very, very urgent. It needs urgently to be known. The pasuk says, "Elokim asa sheyiru'u lefanav," that God has made it so that people fear Him. The rabbis explain, what has He done that people should fear Him? Ze halom ra. It's a bad dream. In other words, just like thunder, the rabbis tell us, was intended to shake us up sometimes, certain events in our life are meant to shake us up. Otherwise, we would go living on in the same routine, working, eating, drinking, working, eating, drinking, sleeping, right? Sometimes we need something to awaken us, if necessary. A halom, a bad dream, or a shocking dream, sometimes is intended for that purpose alone. Hashem therefore uses a dream for purpose. Otherwise, what are dreams for? The physical body just dreams up of things. Hashem actually uses that time. Remember, when the body is at rest, when the neshama is finally able to express itself and know certain things, then to communicate with the neshama what it really should know, something that it would not know or would not pay attention to in the physical body during the day as she's working or eating or doing whatever it is that she's doing. So at night is the best time to communicate with her. So what should we do with dreams that we have? Well, first of all, if we can identify clearly what the message in the dream is, if somehow we can feel that this is a message, and obviously we may need to follow what it is that it's telling us to do. To be careful with certain things or to follow certain things. It doesn't mean that you should follow every single dream. Remember, we said before that certain dreams are false, certain dreams are demonic in nature, and you're not necessarily going to follow it literally because it's not literal. But if you feel or if you're told that a dream has certain meaning or certain message, you may have to be concerned about it. Most dreams, nonsense. Most dreams don't mean anything. But certain dreams may have some validity to them, and if they're very serious, you may have to take it seriously. Another important point is, since dreams are somewhat affected by our thoughts, one should be careful as much as possible with what thoughts he has during the day, what he thinks, what he talks about, what he sees, because all of these things eventually are absorbed, and the mind will regurgitate all of this and process it, and it will surface, if not now, tomorrow or another day. So we want to be, of course, careful with what we see and what we think about. Also be careful with depression and with worries. Too much worry is not good. In itself, it's not healthy. And especially if you have this worry all the time, then at night you will also be bothered by it. It will creep up on you, just like nightmares of memories and experiences in the past. So these are things that we can somewhat control, and in some ways we can have better dreams if we remove them. If one wants to know the best solution or the best prescription for having the best dreams possible and the truest dreams and the clearest dreams, is to do three things. First of all, say Kriyat Shema Lamita. Say the entire Kriyat Shema before you go to sleep. And what that means is include the vidui. Don't talk to anybody after you say Kriyat Shema. Kriyat Shema means you're going to sleep after that. Say it with kavanah. In other words, as much as possible, you should understand what you're saying. People who really do the Kriyat Shema properly, they actually contemplate what they've done during the day, what they've done right, what they've done wrong. They don't wait till Rosh Hashanah to figure out what they've done right and wrong during the year. Every day and every night before they go to sleep, they judge themselves. Oh, I shouldn't have really yelled back. I shouldn't have criticized. I shouldn't have answered back. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have. They actually analyze their day, what they've done, what they've missed. They say the Kriyat Shema. They make sure that there's a kosher mezuzah to the bedroom that they're sleeping in. Obviously that there's nothing unclean in that room. Nothing that is tameh, nothing that is unclean, nothing that is against the Torah in that room going on. If it's a man, it will be a good thing for him to wear tzitzit. That's at nighttime, even though you don't need to wear tzitzit when you go to sleep. Anybody who does, I guarantee it. I can guarantee, because it's not my guarantee, it's brought down. I can assure you that your dreams will be a lot better. For the men, those who wear tzitzit will have a better dream. And I especially encourage the men who've been having really bad dreams, demonic in nature, and that is a condition, of course, that they cease to do anything that is prohibited to do, of course. Otherwise, if you watch all the terrible things and do everything that's not right, and then you put on 10 tzitzit, they're not going to help you, right? But if you do everything right and you need an extra protection, put on the tzitzit if you need it, and you will see, kosher tzitzit, you will see a much better dream. So the idea is to do the right things, to stay away from trouble, not to go to sleep too late, of course, to say the Kriyat Shema, and B'ezrat Hashem, you will have sweet dreams.